play a little game, Jeff, and we want our chat people to play along. We're going to run through some of these off seasons, and we'll argue about and debate and decide who was the best when we compare one guy who's somewhat similar to the other guy in off-season acquisitions. What it points out, Jeff, this game, is that the Rangers really have had some amazing acquisitions in the offseason, going back quite a ways, at least going back to the year 2000 and really beyond that. So let's start, I guess, chronologically with the one that happened the longest time ago in 1988, at least the one in this game. In 1988, you had Nolan Ryan acquired in the offseason. And in 2022, you had Jacob deGrom acquired in the offseason. Jeff, which one was bigger?
Well, Nolan, with Jacob getting an incomplete grade at this point, Nolan pitched for 5 years, achieved the two huge milestones, the 5,000 strikeouts and the 7th no-hitter. Also the 6th no-hitter. I don't want to leave that one out. But, and what the signing did, and T.R. Sullivan has written this for my old website, Rangers Today, and you can go there and read it too. Nolan, he brought legitimacy to the franchise. He put butts in the seats. You got to keep in mind, the Rangers, for most of their existence, were a fledgling club. Attendance-wise, some of their owners, when they did try to spend, they got in trouble. And had to sell. And really, even the division-winning teams, and then the Tom Hicks era, where he spent like mad, and we all know how that turned out for him, at least. But anytime you can sign a guy like Nolan, even though they thought it was only going to be for like a year or two, it's like, holy crap! This is a team. It's not unlike what we just talked about, John. When the Rangers make a big signing like Corey Seager or Marcus Semien, all of a sudden, holy cow, they're in the market for everybody. So it was a big deal. Tom Grieve pulled that one off. Nolan was a free agent and left the Astros. So that might have also kind of hurt the other team, although they were in different leagues at the time and never played each other. But I'd say Nolan over Jacob right now.
Yeah, I think you'd have to give Nolan the nod at this point. To your point, though, let's see what happens in the rest of this Jacob deGrom era, if you will, because obviously if they go on to win a World Series or two, or win a back-to-back World Series or something like that, it may nudge Jacob ahead of Nolan for all that Nolan did to create legitimacy. I did like B. Rich's comment on the deal, too. It wasn't just Nolan in that offseason. They got Julio Franco. They got Rafael Palmeiro. They got Jamie Moyer. It was a really good offseason for the Rangers, and it kind of propelled them into, like you say, Jeff, some real legitimacy and some eyeballs that really began to look at the Rangers. So here's a good one. And as we flip over the next card, Jeff, we actually go back even further than Nolan. In 73 in the offseason, the Rangers got Fergie Jenkins. And let's compare him. Who was bigger, him or Nathan Eovaldi in 22?
Well, both didn't stay long, or haven't been there long. Fergie didn't pitch for the Rangers for a long, long time. Nathan is going to end up, if he fulfills the terms of his contract, 5 years. Fergie has the best season ever by a Rangers pitcher.
Yeah,
I think that's you look at the numbers, and of course it was a different era, but finished second in the Cy Young, outlandish amount of like 28 or 29 complete games, more than 20 victories. Should have won the Cy Young, really. I think Catfish Hunter won it that year. And that was like the first good Rangers team, and really the only good Rangers team for a long time in 74. So, but man, what Eovaldi did in the postseason in 23, Nathan Eovaldi probably is not going to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Ferguson Jenkins is, But man, I'm going to go with Eovaldi on this one.
Yeah, it's a tough decision too, just because again, at that point in the Rangers' history, they really did. Fergie and at that time, Billy Martin was the manager, so there was legitimacy brought to them then. And like you mentioned, Jeff, neither of those two men stayed for very long, so that legitimacy waned in the later '70s, certainly. But that was big at the time for the Rangers to get those guys. And 25 wins is 25 wins. Fergie's still proud of that. And you're right. Nathan Eovaldi's not going to be a Hall of Famer, but like Fergie lives here now. And I had a chance. I saw him at the winter meetings, had a chance to chat with him. And he was there kind of repping the Cubs, right? Fergie went into the Hall as a Cub. I wonder, along those lines, if Nathan Eovaldi finishes out his career here, having played for quite a few teams, who does Nathan go to the winter meetings and rep? Or if he went into the Hall of Fame, would he go in after this stretch as a Ranger?
I think him being at home or closer to home means a lot to him. His family is here now. He won the World Series with the Red Sox. Wasn't as integral part of the Red Sox title run as he was with the Rangers. But yeah, it would be. I think if he finishes this 5 years and these are 3 good seasons for the Rangers, I would think that he would think very fondly of his time with the Rangers.
Yeah, I agree. I think so too. And it's interesting because again, Nolan did go in as a Ranger. And he pitched for a bunch of teams, and only the last 5 or 6 was here in Texas. So, very interesting thought about what Nathan would do or who he would rep, even if he's not in the Hall of Fame. Here's the next one as we flip over the next card. Who was bigger, 2000, Alex Rodriguez, or 2021, Corey Seager?
Oh, geez.
The tough one.
A-Rod won an MVP.
Yeah.
The deal was revolutionary across all sports, but those teams are god awful. Corey Seager, he's gone to and won the World Series, was the World Series MVP, would have won the MVP if not for Shohei Ohtani. So I think this is Corey Seager.
Yeah, I think you have to. I think you have to give it to Seager in that case, just based on. Again, the World Series, but also he's like an MVP caliber player every day. He's so steady. He's so calm. He's a leader by example in the clubhouse. And I'm not sure A-Rod had, especially at that younger age that he was at. It was his first free agent contract. I'm not sure he had those leadership tendencies. In fact, there may have been some division that he helped create in the clubhouse and certainly was there when he left. So I would have to give the nod to Corey Seager in that one too. All right, I like this one a lot, and it goes back to the MVP thing again. 2007, Josh Hamilton, or in 21, Marcus Semien.
Another, I would go with Hamilton. I really would. He was an MVP candidate every year. In 2008, he was an MVP candidate. 9, he was injured, but still had really good numbers. 10, won the MVP. 11, almost won the World Series for the Rangers. 10, he was the ALCS MVP, and was really the best player in baseball. 12, it didn't end well, but by God, it started out unbelievably, and he still hit 42 homers that season. He had the 4-homer game. Came back, was part of a playoff team. Josh Hamilton is my answer. I know what Marcus Semien did in games 4 and 5 of the World Series, and he had a great 2023, but give me Hamilton.
Yeah, and I like, Rarities is already agreeing. I love all of you chat people playing along with us. And I think when Milton Bradley, not the former Ranger, the game company, I think when Milton Bradley invented this game, Jeff, they wanted to make it so that the World Series guys didn't win all of all of the rounds of this game. So clearly, Josh Hamilton, it was unbelievable what he did. And by the way, he did win the World Series for the Rangers. It's just that they lost it again, right, in the bottom of the 11th or 10th or whatever the heck that was. So, yeah, I mean, he did what you do to win the World Series. And so it's too bad that thing ended the way it did. All right, one more here. This is front office, and we're wondering, in 2008, the Rangers got a president named Nolan Ryan. And in 2020, they got a general manager who has since become a president named Chris Young. Which one's bigger, Jeff?
Well, I'm going to go with Chris Young because he won the World Series. Nolan Ryan, though, brought some instant credibility to the Rangers at a time when, keep in mind, John Daniels was 33 at the time, still a young guy. The Rangers were coming off a really bad season, and they were in a rebuild mode. And Nolan brought credibility. I think one thing, though, that is blown out of proportion is Nolan wasn't on the phone with Scott Boras banging out contracts. John Daniels was.
Right.
But, Nolan did reshape, though, kind of the pitching philosophy. He added toughness to the rotation. He was willing to experiment with guys like C.J. Wilson and Alexi Ogando, who were pretty good starters there for a while. And so those were his strengths, what he did for the club. But Chris Young won a World Series, and he did give a big tip of a cap to John Daniels, because Daniels was in on those contracts for really Seager, Semien, DeGrom, Gray, Eovaldi. Also, the drafts that produced Josh Young and Evan Carter. Those were all under John Daniels. So, but I'm going to give CY the nod there.
Yeah, I might quibble with you on that one. I might give it to Nolan there, just because, again, you got them to that World Series. And I get it. He didn't do it alone, but CY will tell you he didn't do it alone either, and he'll still tell you that. So it's always a team effort in the front office too. But again, it's a really close one, and you can make an argument for each case, and that's what makes games like this fun. And really, there was an ulterior motive. I mostly did that, Jeff, so that anybody watching the pod today could see I can do a game show. So just so you know, who's bigger, right? I mean, that kind of thing, Jeff. I mean, I got game show host in me.
I think you do. I think you could be the next Wink Martindale.
You see there? You see?
What are your chances?
Damn it, if only Jeff had a game show that he could put me on. So that's something I've always thought I want. I think Ralph Strangis, our old buddy from the Stars broadcast, same thing. He and I used to talk about that. Love to do a game show. Probably not going to happen at this stage for either one of us. But, hey, a fella can dream, can't he?
We all silly like the mayor.